There's a room in my house that didn't exist when I bought it. I know that sounds impossible, but listen carefully, because last night, it remembered something I never told it, and now it won't let me forget. The house was normal, not abandoned, not cursed-looking, just an old 2-story brick house at the edge of town. It was built in the early 80s, cheap enough for me to afford, and quiet enough for me to focus. That's all I wanted. Quiet. When I first moved in, I mapped everything out in my head. 2 bedrooms upstairs, a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and a small storage closet at the end of the hallway. That closet is important, because 3 weeks later, it wasn't a closet anymore. It started small. I noticed the hallway felt longer one evening. Hoosed slightly, like my steps echoed a second too late. I shrugged it off, thinking I was just tired. Then one night, I walked past the storage closet, and something felt wrong. The door looked wider. Not open, just wider. I stared at it for a full minute, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. Then I opened it. Inside was not a closet, it was a room. A small, square room. About 8 feet by 8 feet. It was completely empty. No windows, gray walls, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. I stood there, frozen. That space physically could not exist. There wasn't enough room behind that wall. I ran outside immediately, checking the measurements of the house. They didn't match. But the room was there. The room had no furniture, no smell, no sound. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels thick, like it absorbs noise. I cautiously stepped inside. The moment both of my feet crossed the doorway, the hallway behind me felt distant. Not physically, but emotionally, like I had stepped somewhere separate. The air was cooler. I turned around, and the door was still open. But the hallway looked darker, like its light couldn't quite reach inside this strange new space. I stepped back out quickly, closed the door, and locked Italiano. I told myself I must have imagined it, that it was all in my head. At exactly 2:13 in the morning, I woke up. Not because of a noise, but because of a sudden awareness, like something in the house had shifted. I sat up in bed. The hallway light was on. I never leave it on. I walked out of my bedroom slowly. The closet door was open, but it wasn't a closet anymore. It was that room again. The light bulb inside was swinging slightly, back and forth, as if someone had just left. Primera dient heard a single footstep. I hadn't heard any movement. But something had been inside. The next morning, I tried to rationalize it. It had to be stress or lack of sleep, so I decided to test it. I placed a simple wooden chair from the kitchen inside the room. Then I closed the door and locked it tight. That night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke up again. The hallway light was on again. The door was open again. I walked slowly toward it, my heart pounding. The chair was gone. The room was empty. Completely empty. I searched the entire house. The chair wasn't anywhere. It wasn't broken. It wasn't moved. It was just gone. On the 3rd night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room and waited. At 2:13 a.m., the hallway light flickered on by itself. The door creaked open slowly. This time, I walked toward it immediately. The room was empty, but something was different. There were words on the wall, written in thin, uneven lines, like they were scratched into the paint. You left I froze. Left what? I stepped inside slowly. The air felt heavier this time. The door behind me creaked, but didn't close. I stared at the wall again. The words were deeper now, as if they were being carved into the plaster. You left IT here. My heart started racing. I don't understand, I whispered into the silence. The light bulb flickered. The words on the wall changed, the scratches rearranging themselves right in front of my eyes. You will. The door slammed shut. I ran to the door, holding on it, but it wouldn't open. There was no handle on the inside. I was trapped. I turned around. The walls were closer, not by much, just slightly, like the room had shrunk by an inch. The light flickered again. More words appeared. Remember. I don't know what you're talking about, I shouted, my voice echoing in the small space. The air suddenly turned colder, and then I heard something behind me. Breathing. Slow, quiet, and close. You spun around. No one was there, but the breathing continued, right behind my ear. You left it. I spun around again. Still nothing. Then the light bulb went out, plunging the room into absolute darkness. And in that darkness, I saw something. Not clearly, just a darker shape inside the dark, standing in the corner, watching. Suddenly, the door swung open, and light from the hallway flooded in. The room was normal again. No words on the walls, no shrinking, no breathing. I scrambled out immediately and turned around. It was a closet again. Shelves, boxers, my old junk. No extra space. No gray walls. Nothing. I realized then that the room doesn't stay. It appears and disappears, but only at 2:13 a.m. And only when I'm awake. And it thinks I left something inside. Something I don't remember. Or maybe something I chose to forget. So last night I did something different. At 2:12 a.m., I stood in the hallway, waiting. At 2:13, the light turned on. The door opened. The room appeared, but this time, it wasn't empty. There was something sitting in the center. A small wooden box. Old and familiar. My chest tightened, because I recognized it. I hadn't seen it in years. It was the box I buried after the accident. The box that was never supposed to come back. The light bulb flickered once. A new word slowly appeared on the wall. Open. It sounded like my voice. Daniel, why are you scared? I felt my chest tighten. I tried to speak, but my throat felt dry, like the air was being sucked out of the room. The TV turned on again. Now it was showing old footage. News footage. Reporters standing outside Blackwood apartments. Missing persons reports. Families crying. One line repeated in every clip. All victims were last seen entering apartment 37. And then I saw something worse. I saw myself walking into this building. Years ago. I spoke slowly. Hey guys, sorry about that. Battery issue. I stood up. Walked to the door. Opened Italiano. And before leaving, I looked back at the camera. But my smile didn't reach my eyes. And I said quietly, he's ready. To 14 a.m. For the first time, the clock changed. The room did not disappear, it stayed open. The hallway light flickered once, then died. The only light left was the gray glow from inside the room. And something stepped out of it. It didn't rush. It didn't attack. It unfolded itself slowly from the doorway, like it had been cramped inside something too small. Its height kept adjusting. Open slightly. Breathing. The thin black veins spread further across the house. Into the ceiling. Into the floor, like roots growing instantly. The walls began bending, not breaking. Bending. Like soft rubber being pushed outward. The hallway stretched unnaturally long. The front door moved further away. Every step I took forward, it stepped closer. Distance meant nothing now. You buried us, it repeated. I buried nothing, I shouted. The entity tilted its head slowly, the distortion across its body smoothed again. And I saw that memory clearly. The night of the fire. The crash. The thing crawling out of the flames. Not human. Not animal. Something shifting, looking at me. Learning me. And when I panicked, I grabbed the wooden box from my father's workshop. I trapped it inside. Or I thought I did, but it didn't struggle. It let me, because it wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to attach, and when I buried it, it stayed with me. Not in the ground, in memory. And the room was built around that memory. 2:13 a.m. That was the time of the accident. The exact minute everything burned. The exact minute I looked at something I wasn't supposed to see. The exact minute it saw me back. Their room didn't exist physically. It existed because that moment never ended. Every night at 2:13, time folded and the door reopened. Not in the house. In me. The entity extended its shifting form. You never closed it. The wooden box suddenly snapped shut. The floating stopped. It dropped to the floor. Hard. The impact echoed unnaturally loud, and the house went silent. Too silent. Then something worse happened. The front door opened by itself. Slowly. The outside world looked wrong. The sky was darker than night. No stars. No moon. Just deep gray emptiness. The streetlights weren't on. The neighboring houses were gone. Only black space beyond the porch. The entity didn't move. It just watched. "You left more than us," it said. Footsteps echoed from outside. Multiple. Slow. Approaching the house, shapes began forming in the darkness beyond the door. Tall. Distorted. Not fully solid. Each one flickering like the first entity, and every one had my face. Different ages. Different expressions. Different versions of me. The accident didn't just create one. It fractured something, and I buried the first fragment, but the others were never buried. They waited, and now the door was open. The entity inside the house leaned closer. Its surface rippled violently. "You can close it." "Huh?" I demanded. It pointed toward the box. "You remember everything." The words carved themselves into the hallway walls. "Open fully." I realized something terrifying. I never opened the box completely. I trapped it halfway, never confronting what was inside. The room appeared because I avoided it. The entities multiplied because I ignored it. The house distorted because I refused to see fully. If I opened it completely, one of two things would happen. Either it would consume me, or it would collapse back into nothing. There was no third option. The versions of me outside began stepping onto the porch, one by one. Slow, unnatural movements. The house started cracking at the edges, paint peeling, ceiling splitting, reality tearing like thin fabric. 2:13 a.m. blinked again on the clock, even though it was 2:14 before. Time was looping. Resetting, trying to reopen. The entity whispered, "Decide." I stepped toward the wooden box. The entities outside reached the doorway. The one inside stood directly in front of me, close enough that its distortion brushed against my face. Cold. Electric. Familiar. I knelt down slowly, placed both hands on the box. The clasp was warm. Breathing. The clock on the wall flickered violently between 2:13 and 2:14. The house screamed with twisting. Glass cracking. The entity leaned closer and whispered, "This time, don't look away." I lifted the lid fully, and the darkness inside looked back. Have you ever felt like you're living inside a box? A box made of expectations, routines, and the shoulds and shouldn'ts that society hands us. It's comfortable, it's familiar, but is it really you? Imagine this. You're given a beautiful, ornate box on the day you're born. Everyone tells you, this box is your life. Everything you need is inside. Keep it closed, keep it safe, and you'll be happy. So, you do. You learn the rules of the box. You decorate its inner walls with achievements. You fill it with possessions, and you arrange your life neatly within its four corners. It feels secure. You can see the outside world through a tiny slit, and it looks chaotic and scary. It's better in here, you tell yourself. It's safe. For years, this works. You follow the path laid out inside your box. You go to school, get a job, build relationships, all within the pre-approved confines. But one day, a strange feeling starts to creep in. A quiet whisper that asks, "Is this all there is?" You start to notice the lid of the box, the very thing that keeps you safe, also keeps you from seeing the stars. The walls that protect you also prevent you from feeling the breeze on your skin. That little slit you look through, it only shows you a fraction of the world. A tiny, curated piece of reality. The whisper grows louder. It becomes a persistent ache in your heart. A yearning for something more. Something real. This is the call of your truth. Your personal, authentic truth isn't something you find inside the box. It's what you discover when you find the courage to push open the lid. The moment you decide to peek outside is terrifying. The first blast of unfiltered reality can be overwhelming. The world is bigger, messier, and far more unpredictable than you ever imagined. Your first instinct might be to slam the lid shut and retreat back into the familiar comfort of your box. And that's okay. Many people do. But the whisper of your truth is still there, isn't it? It never really goes away. So you try again. This time, you push the lid open a little wider. You let in more light. You start to question the rules of the box. What made them? Why do they exist? Do they actually serve you? Or do they just keep you small? This is where the real journey begins. Finding your truth isn't a single event. It's a process of slowly, bravely, and consistently choosing to live outside the confines of the box you were given. It means embracing uncertainty. It means accepting that your path might not look like anyone else's. It means redefining success on your own terms, not by the standards printed on the inside of the box. Maybe your truth is starting a new career, moving to a new city, or simply allowing yourself to pursue a hobby you've always dreamed of. Maybe it's learning to say no to things that don't align with your soul, and yes to the things that make you feel truly alive. Living your truth is not about smashing the box and leaving it behind. The box represents your experiences, your history, and the lessons you've learned. You can carry it with you, but you are no longer confined by it. You are the one who decides when to open it, what to keep inside, and what to let go of. The box becomes a tool, a memory, not a prison. The truth is your authentic self, is vast, limitless, and more powerful than any box could ever contain. It's found in the courage to be vulnerable, the strength to be different, and the wisdom to know that your life is meant to be. Painted on a canvas as wide as the sky, not confined to the four walls of a box. So, what's one thing you can do today to push open the lid, even just a little? What does your truth look like? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys of discovery. For 3 nights, nothing happened. No hallway light turning on. No door opening. No 2:30 a.m. Awakening. I slept. Properly. Deeply. For the first time in years. The house felt lighter. The air didn't feel thick anymore. Even the silence felt normal. Not watchful. Just quiet. I started believing it was over. Days passed, then a week. The scratch on the hallway wall stayed faint. It didn't grow. It didn't move. It didn't change. It looked like nothing more than damaged paint. I almost painted over it. Almost. But something stopped me. Not fear. Just instinct. Like removing it would erase something important. And strangely, I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt balanced. Like something inside me had finally aligned. I stopped avoiding the accident in my thoughts. Stopped running from the memory. I even visited the old site. Where it happened, the ground was quiet. Still. No buried box. No disturbed soil. Just earth. Normal earth. I stood there for a long time, and for the first time, I didn't look away. 2 weeks later, I woke up suddenly. Heart racing. But not from fear. From habit. I reached for my phone, checked the time. 2:13 a.m. I froze. The room stayed dark. The hallway light didn't turn on. No door creaked. No shifting walls. Nothing. Just silence. Real silence. I waited. 1 minute passed. Then another. 2:14 a.m. Then 2:15. Nothing happened. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. It was truly over. Or so I thought. The next morning, I walked down the hallway. The closet door looked normal. Closed. Still. But something was slightly different. Not the size, not the handle. The gap beneath it. There was a thin shadow line, thicker than before. Hoosed slightly, like the darkness inside was deeper. I knelt down slowly, peered into the crack beneath the door. Pitch black, but not empty black. Layered black, like it had depth. I stood up immediately, heart beating faster. "This is just paranoia," I whispered. I grabbed the handle and opened the closet. Shelves. Boxers. Normal. The shadow beneath the door vanished. I laughed softly, nervously. "It's over," I told myself again. That night, I did something deliberate. At 2:12 a.m., I stood in the hallway, waiting. The house was silent. 2:13 a.m. The clock changed. Nothing happened. I stared at the closet door, daring it, challenging it. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. No movement, no light, no breathing. Then I smiled slightly. "It's done," I said aloud, and that's when I realized something. The hallway light was already on. I never turned it on. It wasn't flickering. It wasn't dramatic. It was just on, calmly, quietly, like it had always been. I looked at the switch on the wall, still flipped down, off. The light shouldn't be on, but it was. I turned slowly toward the closet. The door wasn't opening. It wasn't changing shape. It wasn't expanding. It just stood there, normal. Then I heard breathing. Soft, measured. Not from inside the closet from Bainime. I didn't spin around this time. I didn't panic. I closed my eyes, took a slow breath, and spoke calmly. "I remember." The breathing stopped. The hallway light flickered once, then turned off. Complete darkness, then normal darkness. Peaceful darkness. When I opened my eyes, everything was still. Weeks passed again. No more disturbances, no more shadows, no more 2:13 awakenings. Life returned to routine, but something changed in me. I don't avoid mirrors anymore. I don't flinch at silence. I don't fear closed doors, because I understand something now. The room never lived in the house. The house was never the door. The box was never the prison. It was always me, and once I stopped running, it stopped chasing. But here's the part I haven't told anyone. Sometimes, when I walk down the hallway, I notice something strange. The hallway feels slightly longer, coos slightly, like it did the first night. Not enough to measure, not enough to prove, just enough to notice. And once, just once, when I walked past the closet, I heard a faint sound. Not scratching, not breathing. A soft wooden click, like a lid closing. Primera stopped, waited. Nothing followed. No door opened, no room appeared. No words formed on the walls. Just silence.com. Normal silence. I smiled and kept walking, because this time I didn't look back. Some rooms aren't built with walls. Some doors, tantanid, hinges, and some things don't disappear. They just wait until you're ready to remember. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more.